Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel. You guys know on this channel I like to give you guides, tips and advice on how to improve a rogue company. And for some of you that may take you down into looking into competitive rogue company. So today in this video I'm going to give you a little bit of advice about how to approach that and what you need as a foundation before you look into it. If you do go on to enjoy the video or find it helpful, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. But for now, let's get into it. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of advice about how to start getting in to competitive rogue company and what foundations you're going to need to go forward and excel at it. The first thing that I want you all to do if you're thinking about getting into competitive rogue companies, this is playing in tournaments and playing at high ranked levels and also playing in sort of going into the esports scene, you need to ask yourself one question first before you even start, and that is, how do you rate yourself out of 10? Now, the reason I'm asking you this is not because I care about the number that you chose, it's because I want you to ask yourself why you chose that number. If you've placed yourself at 8, 9 or 10, you need to ask yourself why you think you're that high. Is it because you're pub stomping every single game and you're feeling like your shots are really on point and that you've got a lot of good coordination in your own gameplay? Well, that's great. But do you realistically think that you're as good as some of the top tier players who have already been competing? That's the kind of thing you need to think about in your head as to whether you really are at that stage yet. But likewise, if you've put yourself at a 3, 4 or 5, why do you think you're so low? Do you acknowledge that you have flaws and there are things for you to work on? Or are you just doubting your own capabilities and maybe you're not ready to go into a competitive scene where the game completely changes? Now, self-reflection like this is really important, particularly when you start a new journey and generally in many things that you can do. So I want you to ask yourself that question and think about, where am I? And in a month, when you've started to go on this journey, ask yourself that question again and see how you compare. Playing competitively in these games is a whole different ballpark and you'll really be stripped back to your bare roots. So answering this question honestly will give you a good idea of where you think you're at now and sort of give you a bit of motivation to push forward. My next piece of advice that I think you're probably going to expect is that you need to have no issues with your shooting. Like, I don't need you to hit every single shot at 100 meters, with a pistol and an SMG. That's fine. You don't have to be ridiculously good at aiming. But you need to be consistent enough, though, if you get in a 1v1 fight, you're pretty much winning unless the odds are super stacked against you. You also need to be able to clutch out a few times. You need to be able to go into like 1v2, 1v3, 1v4 scenarios, especially in pubs. That may not happen in competitive play because you're playing against 4 really good players. But you should be able to just be on point with your shots, be confident in your shots, and know that that's not an area you really need to focus on. Play pubs for that, get your shot, go into shooting range, spend 30 minutes shooting range a day to just get your shot warmed up and get better, and then you can move on into the competitive scene. But just make sure you have that foundation no matter what. My next piece of advice for you is to understand your role within the team. Now, obviously, Rogue Company is a team game, and 4 players gelling can be kind of difficult to manage. So everyone needs to understand what their role is. Having 4 top frag, high ego players is not going to gel well in a team because they're going to be competing more against each other than the enemy. So you want a real balance of that person who is really confident in themselves and really good at fragging out, as long as you can, do what you're saying. Don't say that you're going to frag out and then not frag out every single game. You need your shot callers, you need your people who can just follow the instructions, people who are just really reliable, people who are good at zone controlling, people who are good at giving callouts of where enemies are, and just things like that. And you need to understand where you think your role is going to be best within that. Obviously, if you're new to competitive gaming, you won't know where you sort of fit in that. But do explore it. Just jump into your public matches with your team or even by yourself and just practice calling out things. Say, oh, there's somebody here, there's somebody at this point, and get used to the names of things, get used to different call outs, and just be a bit more communicative. It's the biggest thing in a team game is that communication. It's your biggest advantage, and good teams who communicate are better than teams who don't communicate. So make sure you understand this role so that when you go into your team or go into other teams, you know what you're doing. You can be really upfront with this and say, hey, you know what, guys, in my teams, I'm generally a shot caller. I like to make plays. I like to adapt and think quickly on the fly. I think I'll be really good in this role if you'll give me a chance to try it out a bit, and then work from there. Knowing your role really helps yourself and your team work a lot better. And just feeding onto that slightly is another piece of advice that is just to work on your comms. I kind of mentioned it there, but do go in, do just call out when you're in your team together. Make sure you're calling out. Make sure you're pointing out where enemy positions are. That's the bare minimum that any team needs to do, is say where the enemy teams are so that everyone else on that team knows. If you're having a person who's not communicating that and they're getting in a fight, and even if they get the kill or they go down and you still don't know where they were fighting somebody, that's not good enough on a team. You need to all be communicating and saying, hey, I'm about to fight this guy. This guy is at Fountain. I'm about to take some shots on him. Make sure you're covering my angle. These are basics that need to be met in a team situation. And then my final piece for advice for you is really important, and something that if you haven't gone into the competitive scene before, you're not going to understand super well, and that is you have to scrim. Like, honestly, it's non-optional. You have to scrim against better players if you want to go take the competitive scene seriously. Pubs are never going to be consistently at the level that is going to push you forward as a player. At the point I'm at, having played so many public matches, I don't really learn much from them other than, oh, this is a neat little angle, or oh, I can kind of throw my nade here in this particular timing, that's pretty good. But I will learn more from one scrim match than 100 public matches, and that is genuine truth. I played a scrim yesterday and I learned so much about myself and my playstyle and my flaws in that one match that I'm now able to work on and build on that I just couldn't in public matches because I'm not getting punished by the top tier players. Even if you match against 4 top tier players in a public match who are all on comms together, it's still not the same environment as a scrim where you've set out different things, you've set out a plan, and everyone knows what the play style is, that they are taking it seriously. It is a scrim that are trying to get better. So you need to make sure you're playing scrims. You're just not taking it as seriously in the competitive scene if you're not scrimming. So get your team together, find another team who are at your level or higher, or even lower if you want to help other teams. But really, if you want to progress yourself, sort of your tier and slightly above are what I would suggest. And just play through, learn things, fail, make mistakes, and learn things from scrims. It was really effective. Okay then guys, that's going to take us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I really wish you all luck on your competitive journey if that is where you choose to take it. You can come follow me on twitch.tv/radbargaming, see live game commentaries, guides, Q&As, and my own competitive games if that's what you're interested in. All the links for that are going to be down in the description below. But for now guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.